Welcome. Today is Rebels Day 9, and we are here with Mary Natkin, who is the Assistant Dean at Washington and Lee Law School for Clinical Education and Public Service. And Dean Natkin's here to speak to us today about a program that was implemented by Dean Smola of Washington and Lee when he first arrived 2 years ago, and is now being rolled out this fall here at Washington and Lee. Why don't you describe for our viewers today how this new program at Washington and Lee distinguishes itself from the clinical programs that you see at law schools across the country?
Well, we of course have always had a substantial clinical program here at Washington and Lee, but what our new revised third year does is take that clinical pedagogy, the experiential model of learning, and it applies it to our doctrinal courses as well. So students will engage in a clinical experience, but in addition to that, they'll be learning the substance of their courses through drafting, through negotiating, through the actual practice of a lawyer.
Dean Natkin, you had said that when Dean Smola first came to Washington and Lee and proposed this program, he was actually building upon a movement that the faculty had been trying to implement previously. As part of that planning committee, going over the proposal, when it was time to present to the faculty here what the new curriculum was going to look like, what type of feedback did you get from the faculty, and how did you convince them that this was the best way for the law school to move forward?
Dean Smola brought ideas with him about the importance of experiential education, but he actually gave the charge to a faculty committee. And he was on the committee, and he certainly provided leadership for it. But this was a faculty movement. So there were a group of us who worked very hard for a very long time to look at different possibilities, to look at some of the scholarship that underlies this kind of educational model, and to create a program that we thought would distinguish our third year in a way that has needed to be done for a long time. In presenting it to the faculty, we had a lot of conversations. You know, we asked a lot of hard questions. Was this worth it? We knew we were sacrificing breadth of coverage for depth of coverage. So they were going to have fewer substantive courses across this third year model, but they were going to be able to go into them more deeply and really be able to produce work product that young lawyers are producing. And we thought that was a valuable trade-off. But it was not an easy one to work through. We had to have a lot of conversations about it.
And with the faculty on board, how did you present this to law firms to say, come and be a part of this? I know the school has a history of a clinical program, so you've worked with the firms before. How has their role changed with the partnership with the school now?
It's actually been very exciting because law firms have come to us with ideas for courses, and in some cases have co-taught or taught them with our students. And of course, this is our first semester, but this semester, for example, we have a course on fiduciary litigation that's being taught by lawyers from Richmond who come in once a week and who have mapped out the semester with the students. When they're not here on site and the students are doing independent work, they're able to teleconference and stay in touch that way.
And of course, once you have the faculty on board and the law firms on board, the next step is to unveil the program to the students. And how did you go about that, and what has been the response?
That's interesting because we projected that we thought maybe a third of the students would opt in to this program. We knew it was kind of a shakedown cruise and that this was going to be our first iteration, and we so not everything was planned. The pedagogy and conceptually we were in line, but we were still working out details. So we rolled it out to the students last spring as an option. We said, here's what we're doing, we're committed to it, here's why we think it's good. We also think that a traditional education has proved for hundreds of years to be an adequate education and a good experience, but we're going to give you the option. And well over half of our students opted in. Close to 80 students were in the program this fall for the first run through of it. And we were overwhelmed by the response from the students.
I think now might be a good time to talk to some of those students and ask them what they think, as they've gotten started last month on this project.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Dean. We're here with Jean Hamilton, who is a third year at Washington and Lee, who has signed up to do this practical experience in his final year. But Jean, you didn't start law school at Washington and Lee. You actually came here as a transfer student. And what brought you to the program?
When I was thinking about transferring from my previous law school, there was a number of places that I was attracted to for many reasons, but they had been talking about this new program and changing the curriculum at Washington and Lee. And the more I read about it, the more attracted I was to the school. The more I realized, well, that really makes sense. I mean, just as a practical manner, the third year seems like it's usually kind of more of the same, more of the second year, and I wasn't looking for that.
Is there anything specific about the program, any of the specific parts that you said, this really rung a bell with me, or this really is something that I'm most excited about?
Well, I think just having the opportunity to learn some practical skills, there's a big difference I learned during both of my summers of work between what you learn in the classroom and what you do in the job. And there is such a discrepancy between the two, I think, in so many cases, that I was so attracted to being able to, well, maybe this will give me a head start against my competition.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for giving us a few of your thoughts today on the program, and good luck.
Thanks.
We are here with April Finn, who is a 3L at Washington and Lee. Now, as part of this program, you have to do 4 practice-based classes. Why don't you tell us about one of them, and has it met your expectations? Are you enjoying it, and how does it work?
Well, I am currently enrolled in the International Tribunals practicum, and we are actually working on the defense cases for the UN tribunals. The International Criminal Tribunal for Yugoslavia is one of my projects, and another project is on the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, which deals with the terrorist attacks that occurred in Beirut a few years back. So we're actually doing pretty substantive work with the UN, communicating with legal practitioners over in The Hague, and then working on discrete projects that they give for us, memos, briefs, that sort of thing. And that's just been an incredible experience to have that sort of interaction with people that are doing pretty meanthful and substantial things.
In addition to those practicums, you've also been a summer associate at 2 different firms. How did those experiences differ with the other parts of this program? And has it been what you've expected, or is it a little bit different? And what were your thoughts?
My main point was doing the 2-week skills immersion at the beginning of the semester was just really invaluable. You know, you're doing things in your summer associate work, it's actual substantive work, you're writing memos, you're doing the legal research, but it's really rare that you actually get someone who is willing to give you feedback on what you're doing. No feedback is good feedback, and that's kind of the way it works in the real world. But in this situation, we were able to we drafted a memo, and then we argued that in a hearing. They videotaped us in all of these simulations, and we were able to watch ourselves and then actually be critiqued by our colleagues and also by faculty members. And it really, I mean, you could see I saw a big difference from when I first entered the program on week 1 to the end of the week at the culmination of the trial. It was just really neat to have that opportunity.
Sounds like it's been a good experience.
It has.
Well, good luck with the rest of your year.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.